Civil Contractors New Zealand Chief Executive Peter Silcock says the rate of change in the construction sector is concerning, with contractors still taking on too much risk as other firms continue to collapse. Mr Silcock says he isn't surprised by Arrow International's voluntary administration last week. In the wake of eBert Construction's collapse last year, Cabinet Ministers met construction industry leaders to discuss ways of resolving the issues. The result was a construction skills action plan, which focuses on using government procurement to increase labour training, establish additional jobs and build careers. Mr Silcock says discussions also continue around a possible construction accord. He says similar agreements have been signed in the UK and New South Wales with positive results. In New South Wales, the sector is moving away from a reliance on fixed price, lump sum procurement methods and opening to collaborative contracting models like alliancing.
I think everyone's recognised that we need to change. The rate of change is probably the area of concern for us, and of course our members are dealing with, particularly a company like Arrow. Often the contracts, run over 2 or 3 years, so it's not a matter of changing the contract model or the contracting model overnight. But ultimately, we need to look at more collaborative approaches between clients and contractors. The better relationship between client and contractor, then that passes down, so it'll be better relationships usually between the head contractor and subcontractors.
Government papers released to NBR under the Official Information Act reveals officials were reassuring Housing Minister Phil Twyford about KiwiBuild numbers late into last year before they suddenly alerted him that the 1,000 affordable homes target in the first year would not be met. But even their earlier repeated forecasts of achieving the target appeared to be based on assumptions and hope rather than hard data. At the beginning of November, officials said a total of 735 dwellings had a high likelihood of being delivered. A week later, that prediction had risen to 744. But in the November 22 update, that number dropped without explanation to 347. In November, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development Chief Executive looked further into the build progress of KiwiBuild. On December 3rd, the ministry reported 200 KiwiBuild homes were contracted and committed. Given the pessimistic December 3rd report, why did Mr Twyford tell NBR a week later that despite headwinds he was confident the target could still be met? But then it was clear it could not, but it was not until January that he acknowledged publicly the KiwiBuild program would fall short. With the possible implementation of a broad-based capital gains tax on the horizon, how does the government plan to tax the gains made in a company's intangible assets? Paul Adams, CEO of Everedge Global, a company that helps businesses identify, manage and make money from their intangible assets, says it won't be easy. He says international research has found that about 90% of all company value today is in intangible assets. That compares to only around 17% back in 1975. But most companies still don't put a proper value on intangible assets, and neither do accounting standards. Mr Adams says this shift from fixed to intangible assets changes everything about the way a business is financed, valued and taxed. But the government has not properly considered that when it comes to a possible capital gains tax or its proposed digital services tax.
Yet the accounting standards that really drive how we look at companies and company performance and company reporting really were designed for an industrial age economy where fixed assets dominated, and the problem is they no longer capture or really reflect the value of these intangible assets.
So it's more than just goodwill, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's things like data, content, brand, code, trade secrets, regulatory approvals, confidential information, patents, systems and processes. All of these things, and they are unbelievably valuable, and they're also where virtually all economic growth is coming from today.
Burger King's New Zealand stores have been put up for sale by its private equity owner Blackstone. The US private equity group is selling the local fast food franchise, which has 85 stores across New Zealand. Investment banker Deutsche Craigs has been hired to advise and run the sales process. A spokesman couldn't give an indicative sales price or how long the auction might take. The latest accounts for Tango Holdings, Burger King New Zealand's holding company, show revenue of $187 million in the year to December 31st, 2017, down from $191 million the year earlier. Most of this was swallowed up by $184 million of expenses, leaving the company with a profit of $3 million, down from $3.7 million the year earlier. The company said today it had partnered with Dublin-based tech company WeDispatch to run a delivery service which lets the customer track their order from pickup to delivery in real time. The Green Party wants to clamp down on political donations to remove business influence from the political process. It's urging the government to pick up legislation. Its electoral reform spokeswoman Goriz Garaman has drafted a bill to limit the amount of money any single person or organisation can donate in a calendar year, and to also ban donations from foreigners. Ms Garaman says it's a topical issue, and there's been concern expressed about big money being able to exert undue influence over political parties because of the size of donations. She says the point of her legislation is to equalise the treatment of all political parties and to make democracy accessible to everyone, not just those with money.
Well, again, it shouldn't. The emergence of a new political party shouldn't depend on them getting a really wealthy business person behind them, like, you know, the Kim.coms and whatnot of the world. So we do want to equalise the playing field, and that lowering of the threshold or implementing the full range of Electoral Commission recommendations for MMP will actually help that. So get the big money out, interference out, but also equalise things so people have better access to actually having that exchange of ideas and for the voters to be able to participate in that.
And to tomorrow, NBR columnist Mark Revington looks into the controversy over the bottled water industry. So for more on that and other stories, just head to nbr.co.nz.